Hey folks, it's Jeremy, the host of Blammo. Thanks so much for listening. This is a preview of one of our exclusive shows on Patreon. These are member-supported shows, meaning they only happen because of our incredible members and community. So check out a preview of the episode, and if you like it, consider joining us on Patreon at patreon.com/Blammo, where we have tons of exclusive Blammo episodes, shows, our amazing Slack group, and we're adding new things for members all the time. If not, no worries, we still love you, and we literally have hundreds of episodes of Blammo all free for you to dive into. Thanks so much.
Derek, good to see you.
It's great to see you as always.
You have a story to tell.
Oh, yeah. It's a kind of a sad story. It's just me ranting. So I'm just going to rant.
All right, go for it.
This is something that I've been meaning to write an article on.
I'll be your shoulder to cry on.
So my feeling on menswear is that when stuff disappears, it's often at a point where people no longer care anymore, because that's the reason why it disappeared, right? Like you don't see, like Self-Edge is not going to close tomorrow because everyone still loves and buys at Self-Edge.
I hear what you're saying.
People end up, like when Brooks Brothers filed for bankruptcy, Brooks Brothers did not disappear, but when they filed for bankruptcy, it was sort of kind of like a lot of guys who were into Brooks Brothers stopped shopping there for a while.
J.
Crew, same thing, right?
Yeah, same thing.
So recently, as fall approached, I have a Surge double-breasted sport coat, navy double-breasted sport coat made from, it's like a 16, 18-ounce Fox Surge.
Nice. And
this was inspired by something you said a long time ago, where you said that double-breasted sport coats you feel look better with brass buttons.
They do.
So I had that in my head. And I was like,
double-breasted navy.
Yeah, double-breasted navy.
Yes.
Sport coat. I was like, I think he might be right. So I went to go buy brass buttons, and I have a set of brass buttons. I have a navy blazer with brass buttons with my school's crest or emblem or whatever.
Really?
Yeah. So,
nice.
You know, I enjoy wearing it, but I don't have enough buttons for my double-breasted. So I went to go buy brass buttons. And it turns out if you're into brass blazer buttons,
as one is,
the company to get it from is the Waterbury Button Company.
There's only one? Isn't there a button shop in Berkeley?
No. I'm talking about the producers.
Oh, the producers.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So for the kind of like the guy that really loves the American trad kind of aesthetic, he will want to get brass buttons from the Waterbury Button Company.
Gotcha.
Which has a factory in
Waterbury,
Cheshire.
Connecticut?
Yes, in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So they have a factory in Cheshire, Connecticut, I believe.
Yeah.
And they produce, I believe that they're the largest brass button blazer producer in the United States. They might be the only one. And they produce for, the military, they produce for organizations, they produce for fashion brands. If you buy a blazer from Ralph Lauren or Brooks Brothers, whatever, the buttons probably came from Waterbury Company.
Gotcha.
Waterbury Company is a huge factory. So you can't really buy buttons from them because it'd be like buying whatever shirts from or suits from, like a factory.
Like toothpicks from a toothpick company.
Yeah. You'd have to go through a seller.
Yeah. And
so I used to go through this company called, I don't remember the name of it, but I think it was like CT Shop or something like that. It was a Connecticut shop. And they basically had the entire Waterbury inventory.
Serious?
And you could then buy whatever buttons you wanted from, in their inventory, which was huge. Turns out the company that has owned the Waterbury Button Company for a while changed their policy. You can no longer buy university buttons or organization buttons unless you are buying for the organization. So if you're buying for whatever, Stanford or UCLA or University of Chicago or whatever, you have to be a representative of University of Chicago.
You can't just be any old alumni.
Can't be an alumni.
What?
And then the company that used to sell the entire Waterbury catalog, they closed.
Oh.
So you can no longer get these buttons. You can still get blazer buttons, but they
not
end up
crests of your university.
They just end up being like your phony,
right?
Like,
run of the mill.
It's not run of the mill. It's just like I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with this. I'm not like a stickler for authenticity, but the design on the button ends up being like a kind of like faux English aristocrat thing.
There's no way to personalize it.
It just feels a little tiny bit phony to me. You know? So I would rather wear, like they had, you know, like if you were a member of a union like you, they would have the union buttons. They would have, if you were not part of any organization, you could buy buttons for your trade. So if you were a lawyer, they had all sorts of designs for lawyers. Or if you were whatever trade you were in, they had a crest for that profession.
But now you have to be a representative of such group.
Yes. And so then I went in search of other organizations that sell, that I used to think of as the standard sellers for blazer buttons. Ben Silver no longer sells blazer buttons.
Oh.
They got out of the business. I'm trying to think of the other places I looked to. Oh, the other like button stores that I had looked up. M&J Trimmings in New York City, they closed.
Oh, yeah, they closed?
They closed.
I bought some brown mother of pearl buttons from them. They were the only ones in the States that carried them.
So they, again, sounds crazy, but you know, if you're like into this stuff, Tender Buttons was like the button store in the United States. And they closed years ago. They were located in New York City. They were like, that was like the store for buttons.
Huh.
And then when they closed, it was like, oh, at least there's M&J Trimmings.
Yeah.
And they just closed this month. The Waterbury company no longer allows you to buy blazer buttons. Ben Silver no longer sells blazer buttons. And to me, it's sort of like lamenting this sounds crazy because
it's just
nobody buys blazer buttons. I mean, the reason why this is not feasible anymore is because nobody buys it. But all I'm saying is that like the things that you count on and you take for granted and you know is on its last legs eventually disappear.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whatever that is for you. There is something in whatever, it doesn't even have to be menswear. You could be into fountain pens or whatever it is, right? Whatever you think is, you know, that thing is on its last legs, that thing will eventually disappear because the market is shrinking. When I talked to the owner of the CT store, I said, what happened? Why can't I buy these buttons? And he said, the majority of blazer buttons that are sold, the majority of our sales, as well as Waterbury company sales, come from fashion brands.
Right.
And so university buttons and, you know, like trade industry buttons or union buttons, those were a very small part of the business. And the license for those became too expensive compared to the sales, right? Because nobody wears blazers anymore.
Right.
That's the weird thing is that nobody wears blazers anymore, but we still associate it with the rich jerk.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why nobody wears them.
Even they don't wear them anymore.
Nobody, the only time I've seen a blazer on someone who wasn't a menswear nerd was at my university. There's a hall or like I don't know, it's not really a hall, but it's like a building where only faculty can eat. And in that setting, you only see the oldest of the oldest faculty. The guy that's like coming in, he's 80 years old.
He's shuffling in his Velcro shoes.
And he's wearing the blazer, but like nobody younger than him is wearing a blazer. So, like at some point, again, you can still buy blazer buttons, but golly, man, like you have to get it to be a phony English aristocratic crest.
Right.
Or you get it plain, which I don't think blazer buttons look good plain.
No.
Or you can shop for them on eBay and Etsy. The other workaround is the Waterbury company. If you contact them directly and you're able to get permission from your university or your organization, they have to send in something by writing, either email or a letter that says, we grant you permission to shop our buttons even though we don't sell them. So if you can get that, and it took me a while to get that like letter.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Nice.
So I can so now I'm in contact with them. I said, listen, tell me all of the finishes, tell me all of the variations, and I'm going to buy blazer buttons for 5 or 6 jackets. Because I don't know, you know,
like when they'll go out of business.
At some point, like I won't be able to get these buttons at all.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in blazer buttons and, you know, kind of like rule of thumb, gold is obviously to me, it's the most classic. But if you feel gold is too blingy, and it's not real gold, obviously, it's like, you know, brass plated or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you feel that's too blingy, then to me, matte silver, gunmetal, or pewter is a much more toned down look.
Yeah.
In some ways, I feel gold is a little bit less anonymous, or a little bit more anonymous than silver, because silver to me is...
Silver you rarely see.
You rarely see. So to me, that's like, oh, that's an unusual choice.
Yeah.
But pewter and gunmetal stick out less against a blue fabric.
Yeah.
So if you are like, if you're like worried about the brass like shining out too much, you can try that. But to me, brass is like the great ones. And the Waterbury company offers a couple versions. They have, what they call gilt, which is their just like shiny brass version. And then they have, I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically like an aged brass. So
that sounds cool.
Yeah, they have it for the silver one too, where it's aged. So it's kind of like, it's a bit more matte. They have a bunch of finishes. So if you are interested, this is now the time to get it, because
otherwise, who knows how long
my
it'll
feeling
last.
is like in a year or two, who knows? So
wow,
this is small things, literally the small things that will disappear.
Yeah, the ones that'll make it personal.
Yeah,
that's cool that you're able to get them though.
Anyway, so yeah, that is my sad story.
When did you get the jacket made? When was it finished?
Oh, years ago.
So you haven't even worn it since then?
No, I've worn it, but I wear it with matte horn, brown horn buttons.
Okay. Yeah,
It's just a double-breasted Navy sport coat. It's not a blazer.
6'1", 6'2"?
6'2", but obviously usually just button it to 6'1".
Yeah.
As most people know, 6 is the number of buttons, and then the second number is the number of buttons that are meant to be fastened or can be fastened.
I'll be getting a double-breasted jacket from the guys at Assisi. They're coming at the end of this month, I believe.
Their double-breasteds look great.
Yeah. I had to get just a little bit of adjustments made. It was ready to go, and it looked fantastic out of the box. It was straight to finish. He just took my measurements in Florence, sent it to me, and it fit practically perfectly.
Their stuff looks so good.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
I was thinking of getting blazer buttons from them. I know that there's a shop in Berkeley that I think it's called Mountain High Button Company right there on Shattuck. I don't even know if they're still around. I should check. But I would like to get blazer buttons. And now that I know that they're endangered, now I have to make sure that I get the right ones. Okay, so if I were to get blazer buttons, sorry we're going down this tangent, but you started it. If I was going to get blazer buttons, what would you recommend? I like brass, but just plain. I haven't seen any.
There's got to be a union button. You're in a union. There's got to be a union button.
I didn't even think about that. I mean, I'm sure there's union also buttons, but I don't know if there's union blazer buttons, like buttons that you can pin on a jacket. Sure, but maybe they do make them in blazer buttons. That would be cool.
I would contact the Waterbury company.
Okay.
And I would ask them, do you have any buttons that reflect these trades? So broadly construction or electrician or the specific union that I'm in. I would ask. The other one that's very easy is that the Waterbury company makes blazer buttons for every state. So every state has a crest.
Ah, okay.
So there are California blazer buttons. To me, I'm never judging anyone for, obviously, I'm not looking at your blazer buttons. But I'm just saying, if you have the opportunity to buy these things, to me, it's more enjoyable to wear a blazer button with the California crest than
just a plain
like
one.
The English flag.
Right.
To me, like, nothing against the English flag, but I'm not English and like I'm not an aristocrat. And, so I see these designs online and I just think like, I feel weird wearing that because the blazer button is historically was stamped with the organization that you belong to.
Right.
And I would try to find, state is like the largest, I guess there must be ones with American flag and American Eagles as I assume as well. I'd feel more comfortable wearing that, an American Eagle blazer button, than whatever, like the crest of King George the 15th or whatever, So
right,
yeah. A friend of ours that was on the pod a while ago, who is part of, and I'm going to butcher the company's name, Lafayette
Saltiel Drapier.
Yeah, Drapier. I apologize for butchering that name. One of the best fabric stores in the world. They sent us these samples because we had asked them. I think it made it into the pod, but I asked them about something called London Finish.
That's right.
Yes,
that was aged, right?
This is. London Finish
Remind me of the story.
This thing, I think it's by a company called, it's on the selvage. I think W.T. Johnson's or something like that. Do you see
W.T. Johnson's, yes, that's what it says.
So W.T. Johnson's is a finisher in the UK. And once you weave the fabric, you give it to W.T. Johnson's. My understanding, and I am probably wrong because I've never spoken to anyone at W.T. Johnson's, but my understanding is that they put the fabric in a room with a certain temperature and humidity that allows the fabric to settle or shrink or do something that supposedly improves it. And but the reason how I learned about it is because our friend George Wang over at Brio, I asked him once, do you have any recommendations for, I think it was either like a summer suit or a fall suit? I said, I already know about, linen and cotton and whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for fabrics that make up well for a summer suit? And he said, check out London Shrunk. And there are a couple of companies, I think maybe Huddersfield Fine Worsted, I can't remember, but there's a couple of companies out there sell fabrics that are marketed as London Shrunk. So I asked our friends at Drapier's about it, and they sent out these fabrics. And I want to ask you, can you tell the difference between standard finish and London Shrunk finish?
Well, I would have to hold them side by side. Are one is okay? They are side by side.
They are identical fabrics. One is London Shrunk. One is standard finish. And one way that you could judge this is you could just feel as you are currently doing. And then at some point, I'd be curious, when you close your eyes and you feel the fabrics, can you say this one is London Shrunk? And at this point,
Oh, good question.
It's a 50-50 chance.
Yes, I can.
You can?
I can. Yeah. Here you go. Try me. Give me one and the other one. The first one was London Shrunk.
You're wrong.
You're what?
Wrong. And that's what happened to me. That's what happened to me.
Wow.
So here are the ones that I gave you are 2 navy worsted wools, 1 standard finish, 1 London Shrunk.
Okay.
And so the question then is, here are 2 2-ply lamb's wool fabrics.
Okay.
One's regular finish, one's London Shrunk. You're feeling both of them at the same time.
Oh,
so take one away.
Okay. All right. Man. Hang on. I can't. I'm going to guess it's this one.
That one is the London Shrunk.
Ah.
But yeah, that was just a guess.
I'm growing accustomed to it.
That was just a guess.
It was just a guess. That's crazy.
I don't understand. I still don't know the difference.
Maybe it's not a tactile difference, but it's a way that it performs. I don't know.
I don't know. If someone out there knows the secret of London Shrunk, I feel like...
Yes, please do.
I haven't been on the forums for a while, but that feels like an exciting forum conspiracy argument.
It's up there with Dearbone.
Yeah. Like... That has the potential for forum arguments of then someone saying, you idiot, this was invented in 1920 by this person.
Right.
And then some old tailor comes in and chimes. That has a potential for long arguments. In any case, we have larger news to discuss.
Yes.
Which is specifically about Mai Teresa buying Yoox Net-a-Porter, but also about changes in the kind of online luxury market. Hodinkee was recently sold.
That's right.
Farfetched was almost on the brink of bankruptcy. What was the other large luxury retailer that went bankrupt that you almost bought from?
Yeah, they were one of the few, if not the only place to buy Tiger of Sweden.
Yeah. I bought a few things from them and I can't remember their name.
I can't remember their name, but they
went belly up.
They went belly up. And they told everybody, I didn't think about it until the last minute. And they told everybody, we're ending soon. And by the time I got around to ordering some stuff from Tiger of Sweden, I did get a suit. And then when I turned around to get another one, it was gone.
So the narrative, I sent you a Business of Fashion article about the Yoox Net-a-Porter, which, as many people know, Net-a-Porter is a women's wear retailer, one of the largest and kind of most well-known, I suppose. But Net-a-Porter is the women's wear side. Menswear listeners will know them as Mr. Porter. And a long time ago, they merged with Yoox, which was a discount retailer, which was weird because, Yoox was where a lot of us shopped for discount clothing during the kind of like gilt sales and like discount clothing.
Wow.
Like in 2008, when a lot of the market crashed, a lot of us were buying on Yoox and gilt because a lot of the luxury retailers had to figure out how to get more money. Yeah. So they offloaded all their unsold stock to all these discount retailers, and then which allowed people like us to get nice clothes for much cheaper.
Right.
But the thing of shopping on Ukes was all the photography was horrible.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, I mean, that's what, I mean, what do you expect? Because you are buying something at like 20% of the retail price.
Right.
But then once it merged with Mr. Porter, it was like the photo was Mr. Porter's photo, which was kind of weird. But that was like how you got like really old stock from years ago that was on Mr. Porter. Some of it would sometimes land on Ukes. And then that was eventually bought by Richemont, I believe. And then there's all this shuffling. And now apparently My Teresa owns Ukes Net-a-Porter, which represents a huge consolidation in the luxury online market. I sent you an article that was talking about some of the problems that luxury retailers face, which is...
Want to hear the rest? Listen to the full episode and many more other exclusive episodes over on our Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Blamo to sign up and join the Blam fam. You also get access to our exclusive members-only Slack group where we chat about this and a ton of other things. So head over to patreon.com/Blamo and we'll see you there.